Hello, hello, hello. So I wanted to make yet another video talking about recent changes coming to Korea Maple and a lot of things that I still believe should be done for GMS and a little bit about talking about heroic interactive worlds and such. So, real quickly, for those of you who don't know, TLDR is that Korea Maple is transforming their reboot worlds into non-reboot worlds, interactive worlds, trading, auction house, bonus pot, all that. Now, Chang Sup, which is the director of Korea Maple, I'm not gonna like read through all of this, but essentially his reasoning was with how much weaker the strongest heroic players are versus the strongest interactive world players. They can't release high-end content without them falling extremely far behind, etc. Now, whether or not you want to believe him, I truly believe that this is just a way for him to monetize the game more. I don't know if you haven't really been following what's been happening in Korea Maple, is that essentially ever since Chang Sup took over and the cubes, miracle like the red cubes and black cubes and now bonus cubes got removed from the cash shop in Korea Maple, he's been on a monetizing rampage. And I truly think that this is really like a cop out in a sense, and it's his way of trying to get money off of those players that he's essentially screwed over by killing the server with the 1x rates. Now, before I get into some things on how maybe GMS can prevent this, and well, let me start off by saying that GMS, this is not going to happen. Heroic World will remain Heroic World, Interactive World will remain Interactive World. Now, when it comes to JMS reboot and TMS reboots, I don't know if CMS has a reboot server or not, but I know TMS and JMS reboot have a server, like a reboot server, and I would assume that they're gonna follow through with this as well over there, since they follow through with the meso caps and all that and whatnot, like the 1x rates instead of 5x from boss crystals, 6x from monsters. This has left a lot of people, especially in Heroic World, saying, well, now Heroic World needs to get stronger, because I do agree that Endgame Heroic needs to be better than what it is. I think Endgame Heroic is absolutely atrocious. I think it's extremely boring and extremely just stupid. You're waiting for pitch boss drops. You're waiting for, you know, like your Kalos pieces if you're getting unlucky with star forcing. You're double priming stuff, and like it's extremely just lackluster and really kind of boring, right? So it's left a lot of people like, yeah, like look at this. This is like 80K a week for the new, like this monetization thing is crazy. Anyways, it's it's a it's an interesting thing, because I do think that Heroic needs to get better endgame experience, because right now it really sucks. Now, I'm gonna say that what I believe is the right path for GMS for both interactive and heroic, since you are offering both services in GMS, and with the last Inkwell post, he talked about it's not about this one and it's not about that one, much like how I said in the, you know, the 299 incident. Right, I do think that going forward, it's best that we get past the interactive versus heroic world mindset. And the only way to really do that is, I mean, it's never really going to fully go away. One server is always going to be better than the other server in some aspect, right? It's never going to fully go away. But I think the idea of normalizing, is the term people are saying, is good if done properly, right? So what do I think should be done? I personally think that endgame heroic needs changing specifically for gear and the final damage bonus. Now I know some people aren't going to like what I say here, but I think long term it would be the best thing. I think that Heroic World should get bonus potentials, cubes, for Meso, much like they get the glowing and bright cubes, and they should get spell trace scrolling, right? But the 45 final damage thing that they get needs to be completely removed in place of those two. And the reason I say this isn't even because let's take interactive world out of the picture entirely. And how levels work. Right now you get heavily favored by being 5 levels above the boss. A boss, like an endgame. Right? You get 4 final damage every level you're higher than the boss. So that's already rewarding you a lot for getting to those levels. Does it really make sense as a heroic player? Maybe I'm wrong because I don't play that server. But as a heroic player, if somebody's 5 levels above you, does it really make sense for that person, as levels and levels also get easier and easier, for that person 5 levels above you to get a similar final damage bonus as you do from upgrading maybe from CRA to Eternal, or accessories to Pitch Boss? I think that's completely ridiculous to just to give people that much final damage over people for just leveling up. It's always been about your gear ever since potentials got introduced all the way back in 2010, rather than levels. Right? So I think with the addition to bonus pot and spell trace scrolling, it would alleviate that, because it would give you back your final damage and more for putting in the time and effort to making those, which I know people aren't going to like it right off the bat, but long term bonus pots and spell trace scrolling help with the bad RNG factors that you have to deal with in Heroic World. Right? Like heroic, I'm gonna try not to go off the topic of like bonus cubes and spell trace scrolling for this video in specific. I understand like the pitch pity system and the red cards, that's a different discussion for a different day. But when I think it's important to bring up pitch boss and all that, because in Heroic World, it's so bad. And to give you an example of how bad it is, I'm going to pull up this website here. This is maple.gg. So in maple.gg, you can look at all the Korean stuff. They have open API, and you can see everybody's ranking, everybody's gear. This is the reboot rankings currently in Korea Maple Reboot. Level 295 Angelic Buster. To put into perspective how crazy that is, this player has surely been playing Reboot probably since it first came out. Nobody is even 295 in GMS reboot, where we had Kana and Wild Totem for the first year of the 300 level cap getting introduced. Now, if you click on people on this website, you can see their gear. Right? Let's go to their first preset and their bossing setup. And you'll notice this player is absolutely stacked out. It's not like they're only logging in just to grind. They have the Eternals, they have Arcane, they even have Pitch Boss. But look what they don't have. They don't have the Will Pocketbook. Look what else they don't have. The Dreamy Belt. And I can guarantee you that the Dreamy Belt is much better than the Tyrant Belts. It's much better. And I can guarantee you with 4866 Flame Cup, this player doesn't have a book and is just getting unlucky flaming it. With a very mediocre flame on a will book, you can beat that. This is a player who has been running the bosses for years and still hasn't had the good enough RNG for a 22-star belt. Now, maybe they got a lot of Dreamy Belts over the years and just got unlucky with Star Forcing. But look, the pocket item slots, you don't need to Star Force it. It's a one and done thing, and then you have it forever. So when you have years upon years, potentially, before you can even get some of these best in slot items, it's terrible experience, right? Now, what does that have to do with bonus pots? Let me go to my character in game. Hopefully I do this right. Oh, there I am. Okay, so now my character in game, right? What bonus pots can do is alleviate, or not alleviate, but best in slot is always going to be best in slot, right? But what it offers is gear variance. And what do I mean by that? I mean you can get items that aren't best in slots, but still good enough for endgame content. And I'm going to use my character as an example, right? I would say my character is well above average, but still I would say, like, not the best gear by any means. Not even close. People have 1.5x my combat power at the very top end. Yet, my character is still strong enough for all contents. If there's that much of a variable in range where you can be 1.5x stronger than somebody's gear that's good enough, that allows you to have unlucky, like bad luck with Pitch Boss, bad luck with Start Forcing Eternals. Obviously, it's still going to be best in slot, right? But it lets you get by without having to deal with as much RNG. Now, my gear, I settle with 2-line bonus pots. If I happen to roll something that's slightly better than 2-line, it's a GG. If I happen to roll 3 good lines, which has never happened to me when rolling my bonus pots myself, all the 3-line bonus pots that I've rolled myself are slightly better than 2-line. Rolling for 2-line bonus pots is way easier than rolling for a 3-line main pot. It's way easier in my personal experience. I've rolled most of my bonus pots myself. Now there are exceptions. And also on my gear, you'll notice that nothing I have is double prime except my WSC, my belt, which I bought double primed, my hat, which I bought double primed. I'm still using 30% top and bottom, 30% shoes, right? The gloves I bought as is, didn't cube it myself, right? My heart, which isn't even better than a black heart, is double primed. It allows you to not have to go through the painful process of using thousands of cubes to gain 3% stat from your already 30% item or 33% item. That's a terrible gameplay loop that you have to deal with at endgame, and it's a terrible endgame loop that you have to deal with bad RNG. You don't get the drop, GG. You do get the drop, but then you blow it up going to 22 star. GG. Now, with that being said, it's worrisome for Interactive World players because most players who play Interactive World in GMS don't spend money on the game. That's our community. That's how it is. So if you just give Heroic World the bonus pots and the spell tray scrolling, right? People fear that there's no point in playing Interactive World. Because why would you play Interactive World if you can go over there and get it way faster, even with Frenzy Spawn, even with the slower leveling? The amount of mesos you need for cubing in Heroic World is nowhere near to the extent of the amount of mesos you need to cube in Interactive World. So when I say normalize things, it needs to do it properly. Keep Heroic World's mesos and everything as is. Give them bonus cubes. Give them spell tray scrolling, because both systems are very easy to learn and very straightforward. You cube for 2 line on your bonus pots on your armor. For gloves, you go for 3% crit damage and 1 line. Your WSC, you go for 2 lines of percent magic attack if you're a mage, or attack if you're a not mage. And what that also does, speaking of WSC, is it means you don't have to go for 3% attack lines, 3% magic attack lines on all your WSC. You still have to do it for the emblem. There's no way around that. But for your weapon and your secondary especially, you all know how bad keeping secondaries are. It allows you to settle with 2-line magic attack and 1-line buffs. And still be very, 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 very good. Right? And that allows you to have way less cubes required for just cubing your WSC for main pots. Right? It allows you to get away with not having to go for absolute perfection on every item's potentials. Right? So what does that mean for Interactive World? I believe that Interactive World should, I know before I said that we shouldn't get the meso cubes. I know I said that before, but I was mostly saying that because I didn't trust in Nexon at the time. I didn't believe they could do it properly. I thought if we were going to get the meso cubes, we were going to get every single thing that came with that update. The 1x meso in reboot, the freaking removal of solid and hard cubes. I thought we were going to get all of that if we couldn't just like pick and choose. I didn't trust Nexon. I don't think anybody did. But look, at the start of this year, we all thought we were, like, not everybody, but people were thinking that we were going to get reboot gutted. It didn't get gutted. It didn't get gutted at all. And look, in April, they were telling me, don't talk about Frenzy. People were telling me, for 5 months, nothing was said about fragments. Right. Thought we were going to get Meso Cap. Thought we were going to get all this stuff. Now, in September, like less than a month from now, we're getting an answer to Frenzy. We're the only server in the whole world for Maple that doesn't have a bullshit Meso Cap. The only server that went from untradeable fragments to tradable fragments. The only server where our Heroic World, Reboot World, isn't completely butchered. Right? I believe GMS will and can do the right thing with what is already been done and what is to come. So I believe Meso Cubes at this point is an extremely good idea for Interactive World. And I'm not talking about the magic wand system that you click like here or whatever. Just make it like it is in Heroic World. You go to the shop and there's cubes there. You can even keep the cubes in the cash shop if you wanted. You can keep selling Bollock cubes. You can keep selling quality cubes. You can keep selling uni cubes once or twice a year. Now the price of those Meso cubes varies, right? And the reason I say that is because we also need a way, we need a way for Meso to leave the game. We need a huge Meso sink. Our Meso rate has been this for so long at this point. It jumped up at the start of the summer, but then it just drops right back down. Right? The biggest Meso sink we have right now in Interactive World is Star Forcing. And while Star Forcing is a big Meso sink, because of how much more guaranteed the Meso to 22 star, from Star Forcing is, how much more guaranteed your Meso cost to ending your Star Forcing session is compared to cubing, it's not good enough. But I don't think they should be priced at 150 mil. Not even 150 mil. Like 170 mil a glowing cube. That's too much. The price is open for discussion. I understand that Korea Maple sells them for 45 mil. And if you look at, they sell black cubes for 45 mil. And they sell bonus cubes for 95 mil. Right? And if you look at what happened to the Meso rates since they got rid of all the cubes in the cash shop, it's went up 20%. From 3k Maple points to 100 mil to, I believe they're seeing around 3.6k Maple points per 100 mil. It's a drastic change that I believe will be for the overall better for both worlds, right? Give the bonus cubes and spell trace scrolling for heroic in place of the final damage, because I think you guys will be when new bosses come out, you want to be able to clear it as a top player. You don't want to be able to one burst it. We don't want that, right? And we also don't want an X-Calling situation where the boss is just not even remotely close to killable. So I think that heroic endgame needs buffed, and I think this is the right way to do it. I understand that early game is going to be a bit slower because you don't get all that final damage right at the start, but tearing up with bonus cubes as well is another thing I want to touch up real quick. They tier up just as much, if not more often, than bright cubes, just the glowing cubes. The bonus bright cubes aren't really a thing right now, but if they added them in, they have the same tier up rate. So let's not talk about bonus bright cubes at this time, just so people don't get confused. They tier up extremely generous in GMS, just as much as bright cubes to main pot, if not better. Also in GMS, we have a way higher chance at getting prime line on second and third line. Right, we have a way higher chance. I don't know that chance, they never released the rates, but I can tell you I watch a lot of TMS people cube, I watch a lot of Korean people cube. They can very easily use 1,000, 2,000 cubes without even seeing any prime line on their second and third line. In GMS, it's way more common. I don't know how much more common, but extremely more common, extremely generous. And spell trace scrolling is very simple to learn. Use 30% on the accessories. Use 15% on the armors and weapon. If it fails, you use 100% clean slate scroll to get the slot back. If you want to redo all the slots, use an Inno scroll. If you want to redo all the slots but keep the star forcing on your item, you use an arc inno. Then you use hammer for 2 extra slots. It's very simple and very basic to understand and very straightforward. It also allows for people to have more reason to spend your meso in Heroic World rather than being sparagated. I already touched on that, right? That's what I believe is the best situation. Interactive World will still have the benefit of being able to buy spares, which is a huge benefit. I can't tell you, I blew up, I think it was around 9 Eternals total, getting my hat, top, and bottom to 22 stars. And how long that would take in Interactive World, 90 weeks, almost 2 years of normal Kalos, almost a year of Chaos Kalos just to get the spares. Right, that I was able to bypass from farming, or you can pay to win. I was able to bypass it in a month and a half of farming a pretty decent amount with the high price of fragments. Now, if you're a pay to win guy, you can do that in less than a month. It's a huge benefit if you're a pay to win guy. So that's what I believe should be done as a core concept. Like I said, when it comes to like the familiar red cards and all that other stuff, pitch pity system, that's another topic for another day. But I think just in general, spell trace scrolling and addition like bonus cubes in place of the pile damage buff in Heroic World is a huge start. Meso cubes in Interactive World is a humongous start. You got a trifecta, and then if you flip it around, you got a W. So that's what I have to say about that. I think it's an interesting topic. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you all for watching. Much love. I'll catch you on the flip side.